Can there be sorrow? Sense expectations? Please tell me. And if the expectation itself is unrealistic, who is responsible for the sorrow? Sin is suffering. Read it backwards. Suffering is sin. There is no virtue in suffering, but there is pleasure in demonstrating your suffering. The ego is always smarter than the one who is trying to help it. It starts projecting distinctions within the texts and it says, now me, I am taking care of fear. I am taking care of greed. I am taking care of lust. I am taking care of Maya. We are masters at pretension. And when you pretend for long, then you forget that you have been pretending all along. You have again been trapped. It's a huge, huge trap. You must read your inner algorithm and figure out ways to beat it. Don't you see how your inner machine works? Isn't it all very predictable? विभिन्न प्रकार के अच्छे अर्थ, a great diversity in all kinds of goodnesses is again possible today. And what we must remember is that when there are different kinds of goodnesses, when the virtues appear diverse, then there is neither goodness nor virtue. What do you think over this? So, right. Unshakable in sorrow. Number one, unshakable in sorrow, untempted by pleasures, third, free from attachment, fear and anger, free from attachment, next free from fear, and then next free from anger. Five different looking goodnesses. And if they continue to look different, then there is no goodness. No goodness, right? One could say I am working on anger because Sri Krishna said Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha. One has to go beyond attachment, fear and anger. So I'm working on anger. And he's working on the thing called anger while remaining what he is within. Desirous and ignorant. What an impossible kind of pursuit it is. Impossible, stupid and absurd. Like darkness trying to put a sheen of illumination. Darkness draping itself in light. Absurd. Someone could say, I'm untempted by pleasures. I have no craving for any kind of pleasure because Sri Krishna has said, Sukheshu Vigata Spraha. The fact is that he might be simply suppressing his desires or not acknowledging the latent need for pleasure. It's entirely possible to work on these five in a piecemeal manner. To cut, fragment, isolate, pick up one thing and say, this is what I am trying to attack or remove or master. And that's what has happened in the name of cultivating virtue in what I call as Lokadharma, in the name of religion, even in the name of Bhagavad Gita. Take one thing and keep working on it as if that thing is your problem. We are masters at pretension. And when you pretend for long, then you forget that you have been pretending all along. A well-rehearsed lie starts appearing as truth not only to others but also to yourself. Grief does not touch me. The fact is that you have cultivated insensitivity. That's all. It's just a practiced form of behavior. Superficial. Nothing beyond that. Now the author of the verse says, does as much as possible, in as detailed a manner as possible, to leave no stone unturned to reach you, to foil your plans. We keep looking for ways to somehow slip through the cracks. And the author is busy filling up and plugging all the cracks so that we don't find anything to escape away. And the ego can potentially find hundreds of cracks. It is such a subtle thing. And a master at camouflage, at transforming its size, shape, form, that even if the subtlest of opportunity arises, it uses the opportunity to escape away from the truth. Hence the 700 verses. You get where all scriptures come from? They repeat so much. Why do they have to repeat so much? Today the books department was preparing something on Navratri. So they sent me a series of verses for my advice. Actually, I advised them to send those verses. So look at how repetitive they are. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupen Sanstita Namastasya 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 Namo Namo. Shakti Rupen Sanstita, then Shraddha Rupen Sanstita, Matra Rupen Sanstita, Bodha Rupen Sanstita, Buddhi Rupen Sanstita. Just that little word is changing and everything else is just the same. And a large number of repetitions. Why are these repetitions needed? Because as we said, the ego is such a damn slippery thing. Hmm? It keeps looking for even the tiniest of cracks to slip away. Similarly, there is the sequence of verses. Another sequence I'm fond of. Jivan Mukt Uchyate. Whom to call a Jivan Mukt. Right? Mostly I quote just one of them. So you might think that there is only one verse to that effect. Not one verse. This comes from the Bhagavad Gita. And that one verse is a part of an entire long sequence. Name jiviti gatva sajivan mukta uchyate. That I am not the person or the organism that I consider myself to be. Iti gyatva. Name jiva iti gyatva sajivan mukta uchyate. And then the same thing is repeated, I suppose, a dozen times with slight modifications. That's where the authors of the verses come from. They know how slippery, how slimy, how skillful we are in deceiving ourselves. In fact, that's been the practice of our entire lifetime. Self-deception. And we have practiced it so much. We have repeated and rehearsed it so much that an opposite kind of practice and rehearsal and repetition is now needed to undo what we have done all our life. Do you understand? Why are the scriptures sometimes so repetitive? Because they have to undo the repetition that we practice every day. Before you ask why are the scriptures repetitive, you have to ask why is my life so repetitive, and you will get the answer. Because you practice something in the wrong direction all the time. Therefore, the scriptures have to ask you to practice something in the right direction all the time. Now you also get what jap really means. Jap. Jap is typically associated with a mantra. Mantra need not be a full sukta or even a full shlok. Mantra can even be a single word. Sometimes a single little sound carrying a particular meaning. For example, tra, just tra, refers to being saved. Tra, normal. So even that can be a mantra. Or you could have an elaborate mantra like the Gayatri mantra. Or you could have some part of a verse from the Bhagavad Gita, and that too is a mantra. Why does that need to be repeated? What is the need for that repetition? Because you have been repeating falseness to yourself continuously. Therefore, the mantra pointing towards the truth has to be repeated continuously. Provided the mantra has meaning and points really towards the truth. Otherwise, repeating the mantra becomes a furtherance, a continuation of what you have anyway doing all your life. Isn't the mind anyway repetitive in nature? Think of what you thought of today. Was it not much the same as what you have been thinking over the last 1 year? To some extent, the forms change and there are apparent dissimilarities in the content of the mind. But fundamentally, it's just the same thing, right? Just the same thing. So the mind is repetitive, hence something else is given to it to repeat so that it may get rid of the usual kind of repetition, and that is japa. In that sense, the entire Bhagavad Gita is a massive exercise in japa. It's a jap in itself. Because all verses, even though they appear to be different from each other, are actually pointing at just one thing. And to keep you entertained, every verse appears a little different from the previous one, so that you don't get bored. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to pick up 2.56. Wow, 2.56, not 2.55 that we did the last time. Yes, it's new tonight. To disappoint you, it's not new tonight. It's exactly the same as it was the last session. So obviously, I am a stupid one and Sri Krishna is not. He'll not tell you that the same thing is going to be repeated. Even in the same verse, even in one particular verse, he will give you diversities so that you remain humored. Nice. So, no, not to be affected by sadness, not to be carried away by happiness, remain detached. Anger and fear, these should not, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. And these 5 different things are different from the 5 previous verses. So everything is different, and the ego is a sucker for diversity. You understand? That's our practice. Does any one thing gratify you? Does any one thing gratify you? Just as no one thing can gratify you, similarly, if the verse remains the same, and the author comes up and says, the fact is, any one particular verse will suffice. Just get into it deeply. He would indeed be expressing the truth. Yes, any one verse would suffice. You do not need such elaborate spiritual literature. But the moment this is disclosed, we tell ourselves, we have mastered this one verse, and now repeating it is boring and needless, so we are giving up. Because your excuses are endless, therefore the scriptures too have to be endless. Now you understand the massive size of the scriptures. There is nothing new written there. All scriptures are in fact copies of each other. And I hate myself for disclosing this. There is nothing new written in any scripture. Yet they go to extreme lengths to make you feel as if they are telling you something new tonight. Just like, the messages posted by Raghav et al. On community. Every day of the month and every month they are saying the same thing. Don't be so stupid. Just register for your own sake. They need not do this. They have to just ensure that one message continuously stays at the top. And all it says is, you are an idiot. That's all that actually needs to be told to you. But, look at the pains they take, and they write this story, that story. There was one king, and that king said, let's dig up a pond. And he said everybody would contribute 1 glass of milk. What a non-vegan story, first thing. Did you specify almond milk? But they come up with all kinds of things every day, sometimes 2 times a day. Because if it's just the same thing, we get bored. So that was the kind and compassionate intention of the loving fathers of these verses. Fathers and mothers, don't get angry. But the ego is always one up. One up on everything that is done to salvage it, to help it. The ego is always smarter than the one who is trying to help it. These many things are said in all diverse and different and colorful ways possible, so that all the possible cracks are being covered. You know what the ego does? It turns these different ways of expression themselves into the cracks. What is the crack being covered? That the world is full of diversities and you will find relief and freedom and joy in these diversities, right? Right? That's the usual mode of the ego, right? There is this, there is this, there is this, there is this, and these are all separate. Let me run after this fragment. If I run after this fragment, that might bring fullness to my life, correct? So to take care of that, such elaborate texts are prepared. What does the ego do? It finds diversities within the texts. It starts projecting distinctions within the texts. And it says, now me, I am taking care of fear. The other one, no, I am taking care of greed. Other, I am taking care of lust. Other one, I am taking care of Maya. And that itself becomes Maya. And you have been again ensnared by Maya. We said the ego is one upon everything that is done to help it. You have again been trapped if you do not see oneness in all the diversity that the scriptures show to you. It's a huge, huge trap. You know, same verse, 56 here, 2nd chapter. I know of teachers who, when teaching this one, have asked their disciples, just as we conduct exams, probably that teacher again was conducting some exam. So he asked this question to his disciple to check whether or not they have understood verse 56. Name the 5 most important things mentioned in the verse. This was the question. Do you see how dangerous this question is? And do you see why we never ask such questions in our exams? I have mentioned this often, and I'll do that once again. Don't just see what is being asked or what is being done. Also pay attention to what is not being asked, what is not being done. Remember Lao Tzu, absence is more important than presence. If there is a teacher who says, name the 5 indicators of virtue or goodness mentioned in 2.56, there is a big problem. First of all, the teacher expects you to have memorized the verse. Sometimes there is such love affair between you and a particular verse that it just gets memorized spontaneously. And that's all right. A few of these verses indeed have now made their way into my memory, and I remember them. But if memorization is taken up as a deliberate activity, then there is a problem. And when the teacher says mention the 5 important things mentioned in 2.56, then he is expecting that the student is cramming up the verses, mugging up the verses. Second thing, he's taking these 5 as different from each other. The 5 important things. There are not 5 important things. If 5 things are important, then 50,000 things are important. Even 2 can get together to produce an infinity of diversities. 5 is just too much. Even 2 is a problem, right? Even 2 is such a problem that the knowers had to come up with the word Advait, not 2. Because 2 means not 2, an infinity. And here the teacher himself is saying 5 kinds of goodnesses. How can there be 5 kinds of goodnesses? There is only one goodness possible, and that is knowing where all that we call as not good comes from. Goodness in itself cannot be known, but you can know yourself. You can know yourself as full of anger, hatred, ignorance, jealousy. That's what you can know. And that is called self-knowledge. Self-knowledge. And when you see that internally you are full of anger and externally you are pretending to be free of anger, you laugh at the absurdity. What else can you do? But if you do not see that even when you are trying to suppress or mask your anger, anger still lurks within, then you will start believing in your saintliness, in your goodness, in your success, spiritual success. You know, I have succeeded in overcoming my anger or fear. And externally you indeed have succeeded. You have succeeded. Smile. Please focus on these beautiful smiling faces. See, you have succeeded. It comes so cheap. How much did it take for you to display that you are free of anger? Please smile. That smile was meant to be demonstrated to others. And after a while we start believing in it ourselves. I am somebody, who is not angry and I don't get agitated. Come on, sir, that's only because you do not know what you are hiding within. And that's why you are able to claim that inwardly you don't have anger or this or that or jealousy or greed or fear, or you don't know what you are hiding within. There is only one goodness. Not to be ignorant of what you are hiding within. I'm not even saying what is hidden within. As if what is hidden is animate and has a choice of its own. The choice rests with you. So if there is something hidden within, let's be honest and say we are hiding it within. It's not hidden within. We are hiding it within. And that's the only goodness. Not to be so presumptuous as to say, There is nothing within, I'm hiding nothing. We are. These are 5 indicators. This is what you will see when, for a change, you are a little honest with yourself. You will find fear of grief. You will find craving for pleasure. You will find attachment, even though the word used here is vitarag, but you will find rag. And you will find fear. And you will find frustration, which is anger. This is what the verse points at. Look within, and this is what you will find. No, but why don't you also tell me how to get rid of all these? Isn't this all very negative? I mean, all the time you are just telling us of problems. Can't you be a little positive and tell us also the methods to have a solution? Why do you stop at such an uncomfortable point? Look within and you will encounter shit. You're leaving me with the shit. Also tell me how to, flush it away or something. No. That's your business. Because that's your shit. My job is not to let you get away with it. You don't have to do anything to clean it up. This is the flush. This meaning? The seeing. The seeing. The seeing. Eye flush. Right? Eye flush. You could spell it EYE or simply I. Both will work. Seeing is cleansing. That's the power your eyes have. Just see. And if you're asking, no, we have seen, but also tell us the way ahead. After seeing, what do we do? It simply means you have not even seen. The existence of this question proves the non-existence of seeing. Anybody who comes and says, just telling the problems, where is the solution? Sir, seeing the problem is the solution. No, but I already know my problem. No, you don't. And that's your problem, that you don't know your problem and yet claim as if you do. Yes, you suffer, obviously. You experience pain. You suffer. You identify with that suffering. All that is there. Agreed. We empathize. But still, you do not really know your problem. And we have repeated that so many times, right? To experience headache is not to know where the ache is coming from. Or do you know? It could be something as mild as sleeplessness. Didn't have proper sleep last night, so you have a mild headache. It could be as, or it could be a brain tumor. You experience, and the symptoms could be very similar. Very similar. You go to the doctor and say, no, there's something is throbbing here. First thing doc will say, fine, wait for a day. Probably you haven't had good sleep. Sleep well, maybe it will go away. 2 days it doesn't go away, you return to the doc. Doc says, fine, something. These are the pills. Return to me after 2-3 days. 2-3 days you still experience the same thing. Then he'll say, you probably need to get these tests done. Symptoms are just symptoms. Symptoms do not necessarily tell of the unique source. A lot of testing is needed. In case of the inner world, the testing is done through self-observation, which is not a tricky thing. provided there is honesty. And without that honesty, no scripture can be of any use. You could choose to not to come here, not to sit in front of me. Every time I conduct this session, first of all, you ought to have enough honesty to come to these chairs. If even that much honesty is not there, who can help you? And then advanced levels of honesty are needed. Merely filling up the chair won't help. You also ought to think over it. And then the thinking has to go deep, and then it becomes meditation. You have to be present here as if you are meditating. Unless your presence here becomes meditation, the sessions cannot help you. Getting it? The mind, Sri Krishna says here, the one whose mind is not shaken by sorrow. The mind will be shaken by sorrow. Sorrow will simply mean that some objects in the mind have proven to be inadequate, right? What is the mind? Repeat. What is the mind? A universe of objects that the ego has struck a relationship with, right? That's the mind. The mind is in itself a universe called the Chidakash, indicating space in itself. The mind is a universe comprising of objects that the ego has a relationship with, right? So what is sorrow then? Some of these objects have failed to deliver on what the ego expected from them. That is sorrow. And when that sorrow strikes the ego, there would definitely be a shake-up in the mind. Some old objects will be rejected and some new objects will be invited. So that is what is called the mind being shaken by sorrow. As long as you have the ego at the center of this aggregation, there would be regular shake-ups, because there is nothing in this collective that has any power, any potential to satisfy the ego. So there would be regular shake-ups. Sorrow would be a regular thing. And then you would say, what can we do? We are born to experience sorrow. This is the world of grief. We exist to suffer. And we'll say all kinds of things. Somebody would bring up Kamu and say, Sisyphus, we all are. What can we do? You can know. You can know. Merely attacking sorrow won't help. Sorrow comes because we do not know who we are, and hence, who is it we must have a relationship with? Our relationships are all expectations, and those expectations can never be met, full stop. And that is called sorrow. Nothing else. Can there be sorrow sans expectations? Please tell me. And if the expectation itself is unrealistic, who is responsible for the sorrow? This one. This one is going to drive me to Delhi now. After the session, I want to have a good, uplifting, perky drive, and this one would drive me all the way. I love the, golden hue and the opulent vibes radiating from this. If it fails to deliver, must I take a hammer and squash this? Or rather use the hammer a little differently? This is sorrow, just because it has this golden thing about itself. Has also given me a handle to somehow possess it. Looks nicely polished. Where have you returned from, dude? Okay, some nice saloon. This color and shine don't look natural, do they? And this is so tempting. I enter into a pact of expectation. I would always be let down. Whatever you are expecting from anything is never going to be delivered. And that's not a secret. If you make the right inquiries before signing the pact. This is an inanimate one. We cannot ask it too many questions. But the relationships that give us the most sorrow are those with human beings. Obviously, there are all kinds of people. Somebody might experience a great sorrow on not being ingratiated by a new car. It's possible. There are such people. The fellow bought a new laptop and the laptop didn't deliver him existential peace. So this fellow is now contemplating hanging himself. So all that is there, but mostly it's about a relationship with a human being. When you are entering that relationship, why don't you be honest and state your expectations upfront? How many have been in relationship, especially with the opposite gender, some kind of relationship? Come on. Okay, I'm not watching. अब उठा दो, कैमरा ही बंद कर दो. You didn't go to school or what? So many of us are not from co-ed schools. When it comes to that relationship, do you ever state your expectations openly? Do you? Neither does the other person. And then you complain of deception and being let down. What right do you have to complain? What right is there? In fact, the transaction with this is more honest. There comes a document with it, a user manual of sorts that clearly states what it is made up of and what it can do, and also sometimes what it cannot do. And when we are with each other, there is no such declaration or disclosure of capacities and qualifications and limits. Getting it? Because if you ask the other person, what is it that you want from me? You'll also have to disclose what you want from the other. And morality has taught you what you want from the other is something not to be disclosed. So don't tell. Just assume that, you will get that. That is sorrow. At the root of sorrow is the expectation that the other will fulfill your most intimate need. The other cannot. And it would have been clear, disclosed, had you had the courage or honesty to talk about it. Do you see? Even when it comes to such objects, insentient ones, sometimes we don't feel like inquiring. You don't feel like inquiring. Because inquiry would disqualify that object from the virtue right now it proposes to me. A beautiful item on the restaurant menu. You read, okay, fine. All right. There is no cheese, no paneer. Fine. I can order it. And it's so tempting. There can still be some dairy in it. You don't feel like inquiring. At the back of your mind, if you inquire, he'll probably say, no cheese, no paneer, but something else is there. They put dairy in everything. It has become so bad that when I go out, I'm forced to take papad with chai. Now, who takes? You understand papad? Papad is starving bread. Malnourished bread is called papad. That's what I'm forced to take, because even the biscuits that they bring, and now it has unfortunately become obvious to the entire world that this fellow consumes no dairy. So one waiter will come and I'll ask for tea. He'll bring the tea, and along with the tea they'll keep some 3-4 cookies there, and then the next one would be found like scolding that waiter. Uska dharm bhrasht kyun kar rahe ho? So the two of them will come to me, apologize and say, sir, this cookie, it has some milk. I already know. Bring me my starvation diet. The only thing that they have is papad with chutney. Do you understand? Inquiry proves to be dangerous to the prospects of pleasure. Inquiry threatens pleasure, but also stops sorrow in its tracks. Yes, that momentary pleasure you have lost out on. But inquiring is also the way to preemptively take care of sorrow. You understand preemptive? In advance. Now apply the same thing to the next one. The craving for pleasure. In fact, this next one comes before the first one that we have. First comes the craving for pleasure. Sorrow follows that. Craving for pleasure, all craving for pleasure. How many of you crave for pleasure? I'm amazed. When I asked how many of you have experienced some relationship, not even half the hands I saw. So, being young people, if you do not seek pleasure in relationship, what are you up to? Girls and boys? What kind of dissonance was this on display? Don't want to think about it. The moment you crave for pleasure, ask yourself, yes, the need is justified. Don't curse yourself for wanting to be happy. There is no pap in wanting to be happy. Would you remember this? So many of us just avoid the very field or even mention of spirituality because they think that spirituality is anti-happiness. No, you deserve to be happy. Write this down. It is not just all right, but beautiful if you want to be happy. And all this exists. The scriptures, the teachings, they exist to actually help you be happy. Happy. No problem with being happy. Problem lies in ignorance, not in your deep need to be happy. Happiness is in fact such a deep need. Vedanta acknowledges it, honors it as Swabhav. Not the flimsy happiness that we find around us. No, that is not Swabhav. A silent happiness, a very passive happiness that does not necessarily require you to grin. Such an inert happiness that it cannot be a matter of experience. Such subtle happiness that even you won't know that you are happy. You are just being yourself. Sahaj. If that is your very fundamental nature, how can happiness be a problem or sin or vice or whatever, which sometimes Lokdharm denounces it as? No. If you are joyful, Anandit, that's wonderful. It is said, sin is suffering. These two are intimately related. Sin is suffering. Read it backwards. Suffering is sin. There is no virtue in suffering, but there is pleasure in demonstrating your suffering. Don't do that. Wanting to be happy is all right. The problem is when you betray your own deep need to be happy. By betray here, I do not mean demonstrate. I mean deceive. If happiness is such a deep need, won't I do something that would really make me happy? Or would I do something that is half understood, half cooked, half baked, half known? Please tell me. If something is of immense importance to you, how serious would you be about it? Very serious. How particular and how careful would you be about it? Very careful. If a relationship is meant to deliver you happiness, would you be casual about it? Now that's the sin. To so desperately want to be happy and yet so casually choose the object to relate with. If you are so serious about happiness, then you ought to be equally serious about what would bring you happiness. You cannot say, I want to be happy, and hence I am going to bring home this one. You are betraying your own worth. And when this does not deliver, or delivers only this, Then you say, what the hell? Hmm? The only qualification that it has is Master of Arts. Simple question I'll again ask. You don't want to be sad, right? You want to be happy. If you want to be happy, how keenly do you want to be happy? On a scale of 10, is there anything that matters more to you than happiness? So very keenly. I said desperately we want to be happy, right? Right. So how sincere must we be in pursuit of happiness? I'm using the layman language. I'm not even bringing in joy here. I'm not even trying to say pursuit of happiness is futile. I'm seeing it as we usually see it. I want to be happy. And if I so keenly want to be happy, I'll be very sincere, no? For my own sake. There's something so important to me. For my own sake, I'll be careful. So I want to be happy, and then I think happiness lies in ordering midnight pizza. Am I not betraying my own happiness? Am I not debasing myself, humiliating myself? Do I have any self-respect? Please tell me. I want something so desperately, and yet I'm looking for it at a totally stupid place. You are dying. You need a particular medicine. And you are looking for it at the grocer's. At a shop selling truck spare parts. Imagine how subtle are truck spares. How subtle. You want a subtle medicine, the subtlest of pills. And look at where you go to look for it. Some random factory outlet selling discarded items? Is that where you are going to find that which means the world to you? Do you love yourself? Is there any self-worth? Or you want happiness and you say, चल भाई, ठीक है चलते हैं. Is there any 24-hour bar? The bar can serve you what it would, but you want to be served happiness. Do they have anything like that on the menu? It's not just all right to be happy. It's your responsibility to be happy. When Sri Krishna says here, one has to be free of the craving for happiness. That simply means one has to be free of the ignorance that takes me to wrong relationships in the pursuit of happiness. Sorrow is nothing but the pursuit of happiness gone wrong. So I asked you, when the next time you want to be really happy and to that end you feel like proceeding in a certain direction, ask yourself, will this road take me there? It's difficult to ask that question in the moment of overpowering desire, but that's also the moment when that question is life-saving potentially. That's the only moment when that question makes sense, not in this environment of serenity and composure. You can, sitting here, ask all kinds of great questions. They are mistimed, misplaced. The moment to ask the right question is in the moment of the greatest trepidation and greatest temptation. That's when inquiry matters. That's when inquiry is life-saving. The moment matters. Right now you can all act as great scholars and ask the most beautiful questions. But do you ask those questions when you are being swept off your feet by the stream of lust, let's say? Ask this, what do I want? Being who I am, what do I want? And will this fetch me that? That's all. Happiness is easy. What is not easy is to stay away from false happiness. In fact, happiness is nothing but the avoidance of false happiness. Avoid false happiness and you find it's not all that tough to be easy. It's not all that tough to be happy. That false happiness is another name for, and a more real name for sorrow. We all start from the right point. In some sense, our intentions are all well placed. We say, I'm not happy, I want to be happy. And that is perfectly all right. If you are not happy, you ought to be happy. Happiness is nature. But then the ignorance in the lens with which you look at yourself and make your decisions. If you're not happy, look first at yourself. Who am I? And what is this particular state that I experience? Be sincere towards yourself. Love yourself. Be patient with yourself. Know what's really going on. And then it becomes clear the direction to take, the relationship to have, the objects to be with and not be with. Are you getting it? Same thing applies to Raga, Bhaya and Krodha as well. Rag is attachment born out of delusion. Attraction, opposite of dvesh, repulsion. Bhaya and Krodh, fear and anger. The problem does not lie in being afraid for the sake of self-preservation. The intention again is right. When you are afraid for the sake of the self. Self-preservation is what makes you afraid. And self-preservation is indeed a noble aim. Provided, come on, you know what the self is. Whenever you experience fear, the assumed threat is that the self is being endangered. That's what you assume. And that's why fear is experienced so regularly, because the self is so important that if it is threatened, then you actually ought to panic. It is all right. If the self, the real self, which is everything, which is your life, which must be your heartbeat, if it is threatened, then you ought to take desperate steps. That's all right. Nothing then per se wrong with fear itself. If fear is your response to a perceived threat endangering the self, then fear is fully justified. So fear per se is not the problem. The problem is that you do not even know what is worth preserving and what is worth discarding. You do not know the real self, or at least the false self. The false self. Had you known that the one being threatened is the false self, would you still be so panicky? Now where is fear? My pride is being threatened. There is the teacher sitting in the room along with 5 others. And if I enter, I'll be admonished in front of the 5 others. Not just admonished, I'll be peeled off in front of the 5 others. So I'm very afraid, very, very afraid. Do you see where the fear is coming from? The need to preserve the self. All fear is just an attempt at self-preservation. Self-preservation. But what is this self that you are trying to preserve? It is the false self. The moment you see that even if the teacher disrobes me internally, not strip you naked in terms of your clothes, even if the teacher actually scolds me, humiliates me, what is being taken away is the false self. Would you still be equally anxious? Do you understand? So fear is not the problem. The assumption behind the fear is the problem, because that assumption is coming from ignorance. You do not know the real self. Yes, in the scheme of things, as the world is, there continuously are threats, but all those threats are to the false self. But I take the false self as the, and hence all the threats to the false self are taken as threats to the real self. And therefore all these random threats, they succeed in terrifying me. We are not saying that the threats are unreal. We are just saying that the one threatened is unreal. And as you begin seeing that, you begin losing fear. Yes, obviously, something bad is going to happen. Vedanta asks, to whom? Yes, something bad is going to happen. The one to which something bad is going to happen, that is anyway false. So let bad things happen. To hell with you. Go your own way. Meet your own fate. To each his own. You are not me. You are not me. In fact, you are an imposter. You made my life hell. If something bad is now happening to you, why should I be terrified? Let bad things happen to you. In fact, I am grateful to the one who makes bad things happen to you, that is me. Are you getting it? Now that is fear appended. No? Understand? Appending? The self that is being threatened is not only not me, is the one who made the real me distant from me. The one who is being threatened is not only not me, but actually my enemy. The one who is being threatened is not me, but my enemy. Now, would you be terrified or would you celebrate? Fear becomes celebration. Fear becomes celebration. Now you understand? भला हुआ मोरी मटकी फूटी, वो मेरी थी ही नहीं, पता नहीं किसकी थी, ढो मैं रही थी, अब मैं पनिया भरन से छूटी. And the same woman was so terrified, something will happen to the matki. She was assuming the matki is her own self-preservation, matki preservation. And then, in the process of looking inwardly, she realizes, not me, enemy. And then he invites you, you come here, you prankster. Can you try your aim on this? Try, I'm standing. But Didi, you used to get angry whenever I would attack your matki. No, I'm in a better mood today. Not only is she just waiting for the matki to be broken, she is actually inviting situations, creating situations that would relieve her of the matki. We said that is fear upturned. The same thing that used to appear so very terrible is now something that you want to lovingly invite into your lives. Getting it? Why? Because what has been known? Falseness. The falseness of the self has been known. One by one we are seeing that these are not 5 different things. All of them point at only one thing, which is the self, the self, the self. Nothing else but the self. Same applies to krodh, anger. No? Something used to make angry. Again, anger is nothing but energy directed at self-preservation. If fear is thought, anger is energy. Can you be angry without being disappointed or frustrated? No. Something happens that is not as per the self or the idea of the self, the notion, the manyata of the self. So there arises great energy. Where does that energy arise from? The body itself. Why? Because the body, to a great extent, is being controlled by the self, the ego. So the body is the slave. When the master is threatened, the slave rushes energetically to save the master. That is anger. You have seen. There is anger and your limbs start vibrating and pulsating. The entire system is getting ready to defend something. Do we ask what is it that the whole system so eagerly wants to defend? It is the self. Anger is the physical and the mental system putting on its military shoes to defend the... That's the letdown. To defend the self. Great anger. For whose sake? The ego, the false self. That's anger. So is anger the problem really? All these soldiers are getting ready to defend something. Is that necessarily a problem? No. That's not a problem if what is purportedly being defended is worthwhile. I'm all up and eager to defend something. How can that in itself be a problem? But what if what I so keenly and so aggressively want to defend is a trivial thing? Then all this becomes quite absurd and amusing, no? As Shakespeare would say, much ado, nothing. What are you so worked up about? What are you so worked up about? Saving that little piece of trite. Imagine concentric rings of circles of soldiers, all of them heavily armed. NSG, special forces, black cats, whatever you can imagine. All looking very angry and serious. Weapons ready to fire. And what lies at the center of all these circles? What is it that is being defended? No, nothing does not have that drama about it. Make it more. What is it? Can you imagine? 1, 2, 3, 4 angry soldiers. We are defending something precious. If you dare come close to this, you will be shot right in the head. And what lies at the circle? Top view of the situation. These are the rings. You are looking at it from here. What lies at the center? This one. Or better still, some part of the organic fertilizer it chose to leave behind. Because this appears a bit like, somebody who can be saved. Some cuteness is there. So even this is not there. Dry, layered. And that is being zealously guarded by concentric arrangements of heavily armed commandos. That's anger. Yes, you are very angry. Ask yourself, but what is it that you are defending? What is it that am I defending? Come on. And if you honestly feel there is something precious you are defending, come on, be more angry. But only if you honestly see that something worthwhile is being defended. What you are defending is the false self. There is nothing in it. No, can you keep cursing? Anger, anger, anger. Anger is the root of all evil. Anger is bad, without seeing what we are attempting to see right now. That all anger is an amusing, stupid attempt at saving something that does not deserve to be saved. And if at the center of all this arrangement lies something fit to be saved, then go ahead, please be angry, as much anger as you want. It would all be justified. To emphasize on this point, that what matters is what lies at the center. Have you noticed the image of Krishna on our Bhagavad Gita copies? An angry Krishna. And that underscores the fact that it is not anger that is the problem. The problem is when that anger is defending something useless. Krishna's anger is beautiful. We need many, many more angry Krishnas. But only, first of all, you know that you are not in the service of nonsense. You are not the Satan's soldier. We want to read these 5 as 5 or these 5 as 1. What is the name of that one?
Ego.
Self. Ego. Yes.
Namaste, Acharya Ji. My name's Christian. I'm from the UK. I'm doing now, putting myself in the firing line and getting rid of this fear of asking questions. So, because it's in the way. So my question is, how do I stand aside and because I'm in the way. So when, let's say, for example, let's go for competitive sports. So I use tennis as like a little bit of a battleground now to dissolve all the nonsense and the conditioning. So I'm keenly watching it. But yeah, so at times when the ego steps aside, a beautiful action comes through, and seldom comes. But then I return back to my ugly ways. It's just like, well, you return back to you're in the way. So it's a case of, do you just fail until you can't fail no more? But yeah, it's how to step aside, how to surrender to that which knows best.
You already know of that, right? You said when the ego steps aside, then there is beauty. You have known that beauty, at least in a fleeting way. Inwardly, there is a range, a spectrum. at one end of which there is beauty, and at the other end of which is something that's not so beautiful. That's what you say stands in the way. In the moment of that beauty, create something visible to the senses that corresponds to that beauty. If you really love that beauty, in that moment, when you're enchanted, when it is there, be sincere and honest enough to know it is here right now, but won't be here for long. That's been your experience, right? It is there, and then it's not there. In the moment when it is there, if you really love it, won't you remember that it's here only to go? And that's so painful, is it not? If I really, really love something, would I ever want to part ways? Would I ever want to let it go? In fact, if I get that thing for a limited span of time, the joy would remind me further of the pain. It has come to go. It has come to go. In fact, I might even say, if you are here to go, then please don't come at all. Because the departure is just so painful. The pain is as deep as my love for you. The deeper the love, the greater the pain of the separation. No? So if you are indeed sincere in your love, the beauty that you talked of, even in the moment of beauty, you would remember that the beauty is a threatened beauty, arrested by temporality, right? Being slowly taken away by time even as you experience it. So what would you do? You would want to have ways to not let it recede. You would want to fight against its departure. Won't you?
Absolutely.
Won't you want to somehow resist the separation? You would. What do you do then? You say, the beauty has no intention of receding. I can't put the blame there. Who is it that actually drifts away? I do. How do I drift away? I get carried away by my old habits and all this. So in the moment when I am still in another dimension, in the moment when I am still at the upper end of my inner range, can I do something in the world, the same world that carries me away? In the same world, can I create something that would bring me inwards? And that can be done only in your moment of beauty, which is your moment of sanity. In your usual run of life, you will trust yourself and say, there is no need to create any defenses. I am strong and capable enough, and what I'm doing is more or less all right. It is only in the moment when you really see something beyond yourself that you must also be full of fear. You know what you are seeing is so absolutely beautiful and yet so helplessly vulnerable. It's there, but it won't be there. Huh? So right now, let me do something to prevent it from being snatched away. You would take steps.
Absolutely.
You would raise a fence. No, you would appoint guards. Are you getting it?
Yes.
You would bind yourself to something. You cannot later, in your usual stupidity, get away from. You will enter into commitments that are irreversible. Like publicly declaring a timetable of sessions. Now keep crying. And cry hoarse in your own room.
I've done that many a times.
Yeah. But the moment it's nearing 10, you better get up and come to the screen. In my case, come to the camera. You have committed yourself. Not that the commitment is absolutely irreversible. One can say, oh gosh, it's just something on the screen. We can change or modify. But it's very important to tie yourself irreversibly to something that you have known to be great. Remember that knowledge won't stay with you. For long, you have nurtured a monster within. Soon that monster will wake up and swallow and destroy that fleeting knowledge. That's why I said your beauty, that realization, that light is so vulnerable. And you must see it as vulnerable. And therefore you must protect it. As long as it is there, do as much as you can. You have power outages 22 hours a day. And that used to be the case even in parts of India not so long back, right? It probably is still the case when we approach May and June. You'll see a lot of load shedding. And there are many parts of the world where it's a common thing. Villages, it's a very regular thing. You get electricity only for... So let's say here, if there is power supply only for 2 or 4 hours a day, and you very well know it is there, the light is there, but the light won't last, what do? Make the most of it, because you know it would be dark once again. So charge up your inverters, so that even when the light is gone, the light is still not gone. Won't you want to? Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Absolutely.
Instead, the way we behave is, for 22 hours, it was so hot. For 2 hours, finally, we have power. Turn on the AC. Let me enjoy cool, comfortable sleep. That's the worst use you can put those 2 hours to. Those 2 hours must be spent remembering that the clock is ticking away. The light would be gone. Does this period 2 hours ring a bell? 2 hours? You never know when the light would be forever gone. Please And this is not emotional manipulation. This is a fact of life. So make the most of it. I said use me. Not that I'm saying I'm the only way. You have to figure out where your weaknesses and your dependencies and your monsters lie. And you must know, once this spell is over, they'll wake up and take control of me. So what can I do to preemptively arrest them? The way that I very frequently use is that of commitment. Just commit yourself. And then say prana jaye par vachan na jaye. You understand that?
No, I don't, sorry.
I'm prepared to give up on life, but won't go back on my word. I'll honor my commitments at all cost. Commit yourself. And because we are such dishonest people, that it's very easy to go back on commitments to the self. For example, I'll wake up at 6 a.m. and nobody else knew that this is what you committed to yourself. And since we have no inner self-worth, so it is not a problem at all to, as they say, fall in one's own eyes. We are already at the rock bottom. How can one fall from there? Getting it? So commit to someone else. Declare it publicly. Let it be known to everybody. Tomorrow I'll be up at 6 a.m. and show up at the town square. Come one, come all. Meet and greet. You've made a public declaration. Some 50 or 100 unfortunate ones would be there expecting you. And now if you won't show up, your fickle ego will be threatened. So the same ego will now force you to get up and go there. Trick the ego. This is in the sense of a soldier battling an enemy. You know the enemy is going to again attack, so you are preparing your defense in advance. You can take the approach of the soldier, you can also take the approach of the lover. Surround yourself with the same beauty that you love internally. Internally, it's subtle. Externally, there can be more visible, more material pointers. And those pointers need not be all material. Why not connect to the right kind of people? Be a part of the right kind of associations. Do you also see now where real karma kand comes from? And why it might have originated in the first place? Real karma kand comes from Gyan or love. It's not blind. I'm committing myself to doing something 3 times a day. Not because it is a ritual, But because I clearly understand that if I do that, I'll save myself from being carried away. Now rituals hold a meaning. Now it's all right. Because it's not really a dead thing anymore. It is an expression now of the life within, the realization within, the love within. Do you understand?
Yes.
If nothing is to be rejected or is despicable in itself, how can even rituals be absolutely abhorrible? Even rituals are all right. Remember, the only thing that is not all right is ignorance. So rituals do have a place, provided the rituals are not coming from ignorance. In your moments of realization, if you see that you need to commit yourself to a ritual for your own sake, the ritual is auspicious. Because now the ritual is coming from a very vibrant, very illuminated point. We meet at 10 so many times a month. Is that not a ritual? Come on. Same time, same place, same scripture, same idiot in front of the camera and behind the camera. Why should I spare you? Looks so much like a ritual, doesn't it? A ritual is marked by repetition of the same kind of behavior. Aren't we also repeating similar kind of behavior? We are. So this too is a ritual, which is fine because it is coming from. You devise your own rituals, please. Why don't you devise your own rituals? You have to be very practical. You need to be smart. Let me commit myself to this and this thing. I understand my inner chemistry now. Can I work up processes? I know how my conditioning operates. Can I now devise ways to beat this conditioning? And obviously the only thing that beats conditioning is realization, understanding. So the ways that you manufacture must come from your understanding. But ways you must have, otherwise it won't work for you. Remember, you are inwardly arranged. It's not an absolute thing that you can suddenly jump from one point of ignorance to the point of illumination. It's a progressive movement. Are you getting it? You must read your inner algorithm and figure out ways to beat it. You are with yourself all the time, 24 hours. Don't you see how your inner machine works? Isn't it all very predictable? And if it's predictable, how come you have still not figured out ways to tame the machine? And those ways, to an extent, would be largely unique to you because it is your own machine. In some other sense, those ways cannot be unique because all machines are fundamentally the same. Are you getting this? Do you now understand why you must write reflections on the community? It's a ritual I am giving you. And if you don't take it, I'll find myself helpless in helping you. Do you understand why you must write the exams? You think you are so smart, you listen to me on the screen and that would be it. Wish deliverance were so cheap. It doesn't happen this way. But our community is just full of extraordinarily smart people. We don't need to listen to the live session. We'll do things our way at our time, at a moment of our choice, in a way that pleases us. Sir, everything that is being recommended to you is coming from a point of very careful consideration. Be it the morning activity, be it the various things we ask you to read and comment on. Some general thing is there in the morning activity, and a lot of you rush to attempt it. And when we say, fine, here is the Manusmriti Chapter 9 and the Bhagavad Gita, can you post a comparison? We find not even 1,000 people attempt that. Such a feeble number. Not even 1,000 people attempted that. You said, we will. The morning activity is optional. We will do it when we please. Or we like the kinds of activities where there is a cute case study. There is Arav and Arushi and they have fallen in love with each other. What should they do now? And then all the guys and girls, uncles and aunties come up to deliver their advice. And when it comes to reading something, no, why should we read anything? Sir, even the sequence of activities has a certain logic behind it. And if you are missing out on that, then you are missing out on the maximum that we can give you. What do you think? The foundation has nothing to do and therefore it keeps posting nonsense all day? Do this activity, read this, post here. Attempt this exam. You have nothing else to do, right? All that is there just to help you sustain your moments of beauty. There is nobody here, at least nobody among the ones who have listened to me for, let's say, 12 months. There is nobody among them who has not had a moment of light. If you are with the Gita, really, I assure you it is impossible that not even a moment of light has occurred to you. It has. The problem is not that you have never seen light. The problem is that it has not lasted. The problem is that you have lapsed back into darkness. It is my responsibility, and I dare say my guarantee, to bring light to you. But whether or not that light would stay with you, I'm helpless in that regard. I can only deliver the gift to you. What you would do with that gift, whether or not you would, and the gift is a little sapling. It depends on you whether you plant it properly in your own garden and water it and nourish it and guard it. It depends on you. And that's what I'm advising you to devise means and ways and tricks for. You know you have an inner goat. and it loves to chew on all kinds of saplings. Won't you want to guard that little sapling I give to you with some fence? No, I give you something. There is nobody here who has not received it. You receive it and yet you lose. The goat comes and the ego considers itself the biggest goat, greatest of all times. How do I get inside your heart and raise a fence there? I cannot do that. Gifting is my responsibility. Loving the gift and guarding it and helping it grow into a great, lovely, astonishing, blossoming tree is your responsibility. Are you getting it? Do I ever ask you, am I giving it? Or do I keep asking you? Are you? The transit is the problem. Once the session is over, your responsibility becomes double. Because when the session is on, then the responsibility is primarily mine. You don't have to do the heavy lifting. When the session is on, the heavy lifting belongs to me. You just need to be quiet and free of yourself and be present. But once I am gone, then the responsibility is all yours. And that's where we are losing the game. That's where you require all your smartness. What do I do now to prevent myself from slipping back to the lower end of my inner range? Inwardly, you have this range. The sessions pull you up here, here. Once the session is gone, you go back. In the language of Kundalini, from Agya Chakra to Mooladhara, sessions, you raised from the heart chakra, then this, and you're just about to leap out of this. And the clock strikes 12. And the community starts clamoring. But in the morning, Junnu has to go to office and I have to pack his tiffin. Please close the session. So just when you are about to be launched from here, mission aborted. And it's midnight, so you slip back right to Mooladhara. It's midnight, you see. Where else would you stop? It's almost always that I end the session with a heavy heart, with a feeling of defeat, I once said, I wish I could just embrace everybody and carry them along wherever I go. Because I know I would lose you. I'm so helpless. What can I do? I know the moment I get up, I go away, you will be snatched away. They are all waiting for you, the hounds. So I can only plead. Raise your defenses. Commit yourself to the right thing irreversibly. But the moment the foundation says kindly register for 6 months, you think, oh, maybe they are trying to make money. No, I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to raise a fence so that you do not slip away. What do you think these posters are for? What do you think those key chains and the rings and what else is there? The bags, the calendar. What else are these things for? Huh? The clock. Huh? The clock. Yes. The bookmarks. What are these things for? How much does the calendar or the bookmark? How much is the bookmark for especially? 10, 20, 50? How much? How much? 20, huh? 10 rupees. Surely we are making a fortune out of it, right? And in 10 rupees, what? We deliver it to their doorsteps. Do we?
No, I'm talking about the bookstores where we keep.
Acha, where you just deliver it, huh? Hand to hand. Okay. Please go to the market and see what these things really cost. Or go to a vendor who sells these things. Just see. Why do you think these things we are providing you? Are we in the business of selling clocks? Huh? Why have we... How much is the clock for? 500. 500. If you know even a little bit of worldly material common sense, can you guess or estimate how much would be the surplus in a rupees 500 wall clock? Don't you see what is that for really? So that you do not succeed in getting away from this ugly face. And this face is not what that matters. This face will be reduced to dirt and soil one day. There is something that this face stands for. That's what is precious. Do you understand your mechanics? Do you hear the goat bleating? See, he is very cunningly selling his merchandise to us. Even in the middle of the session, he has advertised his stuff, his fare, his mal. And now somebody will pick a clip out of this and the merchandise team is already busy noting it down, You will have an argument against anything that I do because you have hatred against everything that I am. When my being itself is a problem, then all my actions can be construed in a negative light. It is with a great sense of responsibility that I have handed myself over to you. Let me be your method. And that puts a great burden on me. I hate that burden. And yet, I've taken it upon myself and I'm doing no favor to you. It is my own internal responsibility. You may call it love. Or you devise your own methods. The problem is not this method versus that method. The aim is that the method must work. The fence could be of any color. That's fine. But it must protect the sapling. Or do you just want these spikes in consciousness? Every few days you manage to attend a session and then there is this spike within. And you get a fleeting glimpse of the thing you called beauty. Just once every week or every fortnight. And then you are satisfied, slipping back to your original ways. Are you okay with that? Then once taken there, why don't you plan to stay there? Why should it not hurt you that when the session would close, you would again be swallowed into the same old stink, like a huge suction pump outside waiting for you. And the moment the door opens, can you imagine? A massive vacuum cleaner that cleans you up. Okay. Just in terms of numbers, it makes sense for the foundation to not call up anybody to re-enroll. Please understand, we have a limited capacity of counselors who pick up the phone and make calls to people, right? Some basic arithmetic, very, very simple arithmetic. The capacity is limited. And purely in terms of numbers, it makes sense to devote that capacity to calling up new people, fresh people who are filling up forms every day. That way our numbers would rise in a bigger way. In fact, it hurts the overall numerical strength of the capacity to make reminder calls to people to register. Because in that same time and effort and number of attempts, we could have had fresh enrollments. But we compromise on that. Why do we compromise on that? Because somewhere, call it my hubris, call it my narcissism, somewhere I know that once you go away, you are gone, you are dead, you are finished. Maybe I'm mistaken, maybe I'm just too full of myself. But that's what I honestly see. And I have facts to corroborate that. I know of hundreds of people who are with me and are not with me and are de facto dead. Once you have not come to me, it is all right, still all right. The opportunity is there. It has not been used. But the opportunity is there, right? Because you have still not come. But once you come and you are gone. It is like a full stop. And I'm not stating this out of some principle. It has been the empirical observation. That's the reason why we want people to register. Instead of focusing on new enrollments, we devote so much energy to calling up old people so that they don't drop out. Because I know what will happen to you if you drop out. You think there is a salesman chasing you? No. There is a savior chasing you. But you don't understand. Because you are full of doubt, because you have never known love. With me or without me, please be kind to yourself. Know that you are your own worst enemy. Just as you said in your question, right? You want to get out of your own way. Know that you need not have any external enemies. You suffice. And therefore, plan against yourself. You need to learn how to read your algorithm and then trick it and beat it. Just download the Acharya Prashant app, and there you go to the community section, and you have live testimonials streaming in at the rate of 1 every 5 minutes. I'm seeing lives change in thousands, if not millions, every day in front of my own eyes. We are doing it.
Right.
We have actually done it.
Join the community of more than 2 lakh participants on the Acharya Prashant app. Your first month is completely free. You'll get full access to Gita Mission. On the app, you will get regular live sessions, daily exclusive conversations with Acharya Prashant, access to the vibrant Gita community, wisdom exams, curated news, audiobooks, quotes, and much more. Search Acharya Prashant on Google Play Store or Apple App Store and download now.